because this is going to be a battle that's around for a very long time. We know the deal. The other side will not give up. Will not.
Yeah, and at some point in time, we also need to start holding parents liable, especially parents of minors who are allowing this to happen. If you're 21 years old, while I don't agree with it, then you can make a decision for yourself. But at 16, 17, 18 years old, I just can't even imagine allowing my child to make that sort of life-altering decision.
Well, and sometimes the parents are completely blocked from having anything to do with it. I think there'll be lawsuits against states for, you can, it's just amazing. We have to wrap, they're telling us in my ear. So listen, as I said, don't forget to catch After Hours with Alex Stein. We're so excited about that new show. I'll join you there in the chat tonight. War Room is up next, you guys. Hug your children, love God, go boldly, live the truth.
All the kids are leering in fake daycare. The Somali walls, the Somali walls. It's the same old song.
Fulton County is right now the target, the only county right now fighting over an election that already happened, but it is coming to a place near you. This is the beginning of the chaos of 2026 that is about to ensue.
You put that pretty clearly, because many of us are wondering, what is the FBI, what is Tulsi Gabbard, what are they all doing at this Fulton County election hub? What's your sense of what the goal is here?
Oh, I mean, we already know what the goal is. Create chaos, create distrust, manufacture a crisis that doesn't really exist. I mean, this is his playbook, and there's nothing new about it. It was not surprising when I got the phone call that they were there. I knew exactly what they were trying to do, which is to circumvent a case that is right now in state court that would set forth the procedure for review of these documents once again, because we all know that they have been reviewed multiple times, and there has been found to be no fraud or maladministration. But he was trying to circumvent a state court case that is due to come up on March 9th, where there would be procedure to reviewing these documents. There would be cost to the Republicans to review this document, and there would be only copying, not originals taken of these documents. But he decided to circumvent that civil court case that's happening right now and to bring in a criminal warrant to seize the original copies of ballots, results tapes, recap sheets, and even envelopes from absentee ballots that contain people's personally identifiable information.
Here and there, I hope everybody is inspired to join together as a community of artists and speak out against what's going on. And I'm going to leave this and say ICE.
There are signs that they're trying to build a large detention center just 45 miles outside the city. So that's got to get through a lot of state reviews. Let me just say that. I'm going to be looking to see, is it on wetlands? Is there zoning involved? Is there, maybe there's some snails that are environmentally sensitive.
DEP will be busy.
So I just want, that's a warning sign I'm concerned about, but I think they know that if you come after New York City, you will destabilize the economic engine of the country. You do not want to go there.
This is why we have the amazing music we have. This is why we are able to export culture back. If we didn't have this culture to export, where is the greatness? Right now, America is in a situation where we are trying to fight for our greatness, and our greatness is under attack by folks who believe that they are protecting it. This is why I have an ICE out pin. My parents were Nigerians. They came here. They had 7 kids. All of them are doctors, lawyers. I'm here, so obviously I did something right. And this designer that designed my dress, she is all over the place. We are making things happen, and we're doing everything we can to pay homage to this lovely country that allowed us to thrive. Why would you say we got to go when we're the reason it's great?
But I don't know where this goes. Like, what's Trump going to do? He's going to claim that he won the 2020 election so he doesn't have to leave in 2028, or he gets a do-over of his presidency. How does this all play out for you?
No, it's a really great question. I think it's really important to connect the dots between what we're seeing in Minnesota, what we're seeing in Georgia, and the kinds of legislation that we saw being proposed in Washington, D.C. this week. Donald Trump cannot cancel the 2026 midterms, but what he's showing right now is that he has many, many tools at his disposal, including federal law enforcement, if he wants to mess around deeply with them. This could well be a dress rehearsal for interfering with election administration and vote counting in the 2026 midterms. And we are seeing it unfold right now in a crucial swing county. We're also watching in Minneapolis as law enforcement and immigration enforcement is making it so that people are afraid to leave the house and get groceries and go to work and go to school. Imagine what that means when it comes time to vote. If you see this replicated in places like Detroit and Milwaukee and Philadelphia, along with Atlanta on Election Day, what does that mean for crucial governor and U.S. Senate races, in addition to the handful of congressional races that could tip control of the U.S. House? And this week in the U.S. House, you saw the introduction of the MEGA Act, the so-called Make Elections Great Again, which is perhaps one of the most chilling and far-reaching attempts at congressional vote suppression that this country has seen in decades, that would go a long way towards demanding voter ID, toward purging voter rolls, towards banning mail-in voting. You cannot look at all of these things, all of these patterns, and not fear for the free and fair elections coming up in November.
Remember, breathe, exhale, inhale,
leftist white women. This is a Karen intifada. It is. Saw that online. So right. It's a Karen intifada. Leftist white women. I'm sorry. I'm just going to put it on the line. All of whom are unattractive. Most of whom are overweight. The vast majority of whom clearly have no jobs nor any sex in their lives. Like just seems really clear. Let's be honest, okay? If you're getting some at home, you're not this angry all the time. Like, don't we all kind of know that? They're pissed off. There's a reason you don't see slim, fit, good-looking women at these protests. They're off living their beautiful lives. Every single one of these women is like, they spent too much time with the Lay's potato chips and the Little Debbies, and not enough time getting some at home with some hot, loving dude, or a dude at all. Not that you can have lovely lesbians. I haven't seen any of them in Minneapolis. So that's part of what we're seeing here. It's on the Karen Intifada.
Which is a ban on federal agents wearing masks or using unmarked vehicles. How will you enforce that?
Well, we're working with our mayoral administration, our police department, to talk about these things. I mean, as you heard, our DA, Larry Krasner, is ready to prosecute any ICE agents who are violating the law. And what's really important is that in Philadelphia, our police department has a set of standards and rules that really build on police community relations. They don't wear masks. Can I stop you for a second?
So we know what you want, but are you gearing up for your police department to be at odds with ICE, to be enforcing some of these laws that you're putting in place?
this is ongoing conversations with the police department. This will be up to them. But as I said, our DA is ready to prosecute folks who are not following the law. Most important thing is we're trying to set the standard, right? We are trying to show that our expectations of when you're in Philadelphia and if they descend on Philadelphia is you're not allowed to wear masks. You're not wearing masks. You got to show your badge and you got to use marked vehicles so we know who you are and what you're doing here.
I'm going to say eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans and we are Americans.
We definitely have something to worry about, and this is what he knows. And this is this type of intimidation that keeps people home, makes them afraid that the polls are going to become militarized. I am concerned that is going to happen, that there are going to be police out at the polls, and people are going to be like, I'm not going to go to the polls if I might think maybe there's a warrant out or maybe I have a case that is coming up. Of course, people would react that way, and this is exactly what he wants them to do. But I always tell people, I've been flooded on my social media. Well, what can I do? What can I do? You need to protect your right to vote. You need to check the rolls to make sure that you're not purged. You need to make sure that you're registered. You need once a month to check your registration to make sure that it is valid and that you have everything to be equipped to show up to the polls. Because the only way we can fight this tyranny that he is bringing to our elections is to actually use our power and show up to vote.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Monday, 2 February in the year of our Lord, 2026. A political earthquake, or was it yesterday in Texas? We're going to have Luke Macias on momentarily, one of the best political analysts, grassroots in Texas, to break this down for us. I want to go to Mike Davis, though. Mike Davis, this insurrection, which only gets more heated. Now they're saying President Trump, and Fulton County does tie to Minneapolis. They're saying everything about the stolen election of 2020, all the investigations. They're coming after Tulsi Gabbard. This morning, there's some leak, some whistleblower about Tulsi Gabbard, since she's overseeing this. We got a couple of minutes in this segment. I'm going to hold you over. The president announced, hey, we're going to really, in the sanctuary cities, protect the federal buildings, and we're going to up armor on that. But unless we're invited in by mayors of these sanctuary cities, we may not be doing patrols. Right now, the government's going to go through a shutdown unless they have some tiebreaker. And it still means 2 weeks to negotiate the DHS budget, of which they want to take out masks, unmarked cars. The guys got to wear their badges up on their everything to do that docks them. They can't do patrols. They're not indemnified. You have to have a federal warrant from a judge to deport any illegal alien, which means the 15 million will be here in 15 million years. Mike Davis, your overall thoughts of where we are, sir?
We've talked about this before. Our most crucial sovereign power as we the people is controlling our border and controlling our populace. And we didn't give that away. To not Not after the Civil War, not at our founding, not after the Civil War, not in any subsequent Congress. We the people, demand that our federal government, through the laws that we have passed through our elected representatives in Congress, we demand that these immigration laws are enforced, right? And President Trump campaigned on this. He campaigned on the fact he's going to secure our border and expel illegal aliens, starting with the most dangerous among them, Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and other violent criminals. And President Trump, again, is doing the unthinkable. He's doing what he promised American voters he would do. That's why he's a different politician in D.C. than almost all others, because they never do what they say they're going to do. And President Trump is actually doing that. He has been sabotaged every step of the way. He won a broad electoral mandate to do this. 312 electoral votes, all 7 swing states, kept the House, won a comfortable margin in the Senate. He's being sabotaged, right? You have these activist judges who are trying to sabotage the President of the United States executing federal immigration laws, which is his constitutional duty. The Supreme Court has largely stopped this judicial sabotage, and now these activists are turned into violence on the streets, and they're trying to kneecap them in Congress.
Mike, hang on for 1 second. We'll take a short commercial break. Mike Davis, Luke Lucius, next.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer, in the moments I'm afraid. There's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky, when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So, Mike Davis, on the legislation that we're putting forward on Make Elections Great Again, it's going to require an ID to vote. It's going to have a nationwide, actual, real purging of the voter rolls state by state. So in some cases, they got hundreds of thousands of, and Tom Fitton tells me it's at least 8 to 10 million that could be purged if you did logically. And they're going to put restrictions on mail-in ballots, so just not anybody can vote in a mail-in ballot. That you saw in the cold open, they're saying that would destroy America, the American Constitution, destroy the American Republic. Your thoughts?
Well, Congress has this power under the U.S. Constitution's elections clause where Congress can set the rules for federal elections. So this is certainly within Congress's power. And I would say this to the Democrats: why are you so worried about having clean voter rolls? Why are you so worried about having voter ID? Why are you so worried about having election security? When illegal voters vote, that cancels the vote for a legal voter, right? So if you actually care about democracy, you would want secure elections. But obviously the Democrats don't want secure elections because the Democrats have been rigging and stealing elections for decades, including in 2020 when they used COVID as an excuse to mass mail ballots to old voter lists, including college students who have moved many times since the last election. And COVID somehow gets rid of the need for signature verification because COVID apparently changes your signature. And so Democrats got rid of signature verification. Of course, they don't want these measures because they steal elections.
Mike, last night at the Grammys, virtually we could have done a 30-minute cold open just on virtually every artist stood up there and the host and everything. ICE out. ICE is destroying the country. That illegal alien invaders are the people that actually make the country and make the country great again. Your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I didn't watch the Grammys because I don't want to watch mentally ill people for 3 hours on TV. It'd be more fun to go to an insane asylum. But I would say this: who cares what these Hollywood people think? We had an election, and we've had several elections where we've passed legislation, including immigration laws, and we the people demand that our border is secure and we control our population. And no, we don't want a bunch of third world Marxist trash in America. We learned that the hard way with the Somali pirates in Minneapolis.
Mike, this is going to get very tough in the Senate the next couple of weeks because the Democrats think they got momentum and they think they got leverage over President Trump. No masks, no unmarked cars. You got to have your badge with your identification so your family, you can get doxxed. They can go terrorize your family. You have to have a federal judge sign off on a warrant, no patrols and no indemnity for the officers. If all that passed, first off, you wouldn't have anybody in ICE. They'd all leave. But we would not deport. There'd be no mass deportations. We'd never even get to the bad hombres. Your thoughts about the perilous situation we're in this negotiation, quote unquote negotiation, because there shouldn't be any negotiation on these topics, on these issues with ICE, sir?
This is a hell no. This is a red line. We had an election, and we the people with the sovereign power to control our border and populace made the decision that we want President Trump in there enforcing our decades-old immigration laws. And if any Republican tries to cut a deal to undercut we the people's sovereign power, as evidenced by this last election, if any Republican does this, they must be primaried, or Republican voters should just stay home and let that Republican get beat. This is the ultimate betrayal to try to kneecap the President of the United States when he's doing his constitutional duty to enforce our federal immigration laws on behalf of we the people, the sovereign citizens of America. So any Republican who tries to cut a deal on this can go to hell. They need to be primaried. They need to lose their election.
What would you say to the president? The president says that the country lost 2 points off of growth in the fourth quarter. The growth could have been, I don't know, over 5%. The Atlanta Fed, I think, is now saying 4.5% for the private economy, not the federal spending. They're quite worried that the Democrats are going to use this to shut down the government. He's got to really thread the needle here. What would you say in this regard? Because it's it's a tough one for the president because you've already seen some wobbly. Ron Johnson, I think, is already saying, well, we could have a conversation on body cameras. If you have a conversation with these guys on anything, they're going to try to run the tables on you. So what advice would you give the president, knowing that the Democrats actually want to shut down the government to hurt the economy?
Shut down the government. I mean, the Democrats shut down the government last time and they got their asses kicked by President Trump. Shut it down again. It's the Democrat who needs all this government largesse. It's the Democrats who need to send money to their Somali pirates for the votes, right? It's not Republicans. We don't need the federal government to send money to freeloaders like their Somali pirates. Shut down the governments, right? If Democrats want to try to kneecap the president on immigration, shut down the government. That's the most crucial duty of the federal government, is to secure our border and to protect us from an invasion of third world Marxist trash.
What would you say to Tom Homan? There's this philosophy now, particularly in the sanctuary cities, in the California, Illinois, New York, Minnesota, in the sanctuary cities, to protect. President Trump said he's not going to let happen what happened in Portland, Oregon the other night, and what happened in Los Angeles with these federal buildings, but to put a shield around those and wait to be asked by the mayors. And he said, hey, they got to ask and say please to go in and start to enforce immigration law. What are your thoughts on that?
The federal immigration law is the supreme law of the land under the Constitution, and the federal government should enforce federal law regardless of whether these modern day Confederate Democrat governors and mayors don't like federal law. That's too bad, right? You have to enforce the law. They certainly like to put their Somali pirates on the federal dole, right? So all Americans have to pay federal taxes to support their freeloading third world migrants in these sanctuary cities. If we have to pay for this, then we should enforce federal law so we don't have to keep paying for Somali fraud in Minneapolis.
Right now, it's unclear. Ellison said he may allow Tom Homan and the ICE team into these jails and prisons in Minnesota, which I hear there are hundreds of criminals, illegal alien criminals. But so far, I don't think that's happened. If they continue not to cooperate, because essentially in Illinois, California, and in Minnesota and New York, you have, I think, non-compliance. Very different in Texas, Florida, other states where you don't see this problem. But if they continue to non-comply with the very basics, which is to get the bad hombres into ICE and get them out of the country, what would you recommend to Tom Homan?
I would say finish the job. Finish the job. Look, we don't have the resources with the federal government to chase down every illegal immigrant in America. They are targeting the worst of the worst, the most dangerous criminals out there. And these Democrats are coddling these very dangerous illegal immigrants because Democrats care more about their own power than they do about the safety of Americans in their states and in their cities. So it's just collateral damage to these Democrat politicians when women are getting raped and murdered, when kids are getting raped, when people are getting robbed, when there are burglaries, home invasions. Democrat politicians do not care. That's just the cost of doing business for them because they care about power more than they care about people.
Mike Davis, where do people get you? Now more than ever, we need Article 3. These are going to be huge. Legal fact, one of the federal judges the other day backed ICE, but this is all going to fight through the courts. There's going to be a huge fight in Congress. President Trump, they're trying to jam up President Trump. A bunch of weak Republicans right now are, starting to spit the bit. And it gets back to, we're going to do Tarrant County in this the state Senate seat in District 9, what happened there, because that was an earthquake. Are people just not showing up because they don't think we're taking enough action, or they think we're winning too much and not showing up? So Mike Davis, social media, you're putting great stuff up on Twitter all the time. And where do they go for your to go to Article 3 to join up?
One final point. Immigration is a civil proceeding. Immigration enforcement, it's not criminal. We have never required judicial warrants to arrest illegal aliens and to deport them. This would make it impossible for ICE to do their jobs. It's a red line. It's unacceptable. It's a hell no. And any Republican politician who goes along with judicial warrants for immigration enforcement needs to lose their job. They need to be primaried, or people just need to stay home and let them loose. And it's Article3projects.org, article number 3projects.org. Donate, follow us on social media. And again, the War Room Posse Superpower, action, action, action. And thank you, Steve.
Thank you, brother. Good way to start off the week. We're going to go to Texas next. Luke Macias is going to join us. As you remember, he was here during the entire Paxton impeachment, gave us great guidance every day. A couple of things. Number one, I told you this was going to happen. The Chinese Communist Party, Xi came out, huge article over the weekend. They're making all efforts. This is part of the reasons they're having these discussions with Great Britain. One of the reasons they're having these discussions with Germany and France. They're going full out to make their currency a prime reserve currency, a reserve currency to compete with the United States of America. Now, gold and silver have been all over the map ever since the announcement of Kevin Warsh as head of the Federal Reserve. Remember, Kevin Warsh is a strong dollar guy. He's also a hawk on interest rates, kind of the polar opposite of President Trump. President Trump is a kind of a dove on interest rates. He wants low interest rates to spur growth, and he's for a weaker dollar because it drives exports. Two different philosophies, but gold and silver all over the map. Go to Birch Gold. Take your phone and text Bannon, Bannon at 989898. The ultimate guide to invest in gold and precious metals in the age of Trump. Plus, get direct access to Philip, Patrick, and the team. I think we're going to get Philip on tomorrow to walk us through everything's going on in these turbulent capital markets.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hi, I'm Chris from Illinois. We like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guts. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump 24, Retribution.
Hi, this is Chris from Colorful Colorado. I'm drawbridging the Getter Chat. I trust no one for my news except Real America's Voice. So if anyone asks, I was never here.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? You ever talk to the host? You can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
And this is all about a special election for a Texas
state Senate seat around Fort Worth.
That's exactly right. Texas 9, because what happened in Texas 9? It didn't just swing to the left. It took a rocket ship to the left. My goodness gracious, the Texas 9 Senate District election marches. This was a district that Donald Trump won by 17 points in 2024. The Democratic candidate in the special election on Saturday, won it by 14 points. That's an over 30-point shift to the left. Any Republican, unlike Ron DeSantis, who doesn't take this seriously, they should realize that this is very perilous. They ignore this result at their own peril. Ron DeSantis is right to say, hey, special elections can be quirky, but this ain't no quirk.
Congressman Pete Sessions from Texas basically told me, he said, no Democrat should ever win in North Texas like this. Although he also said, there was an ice storm, 31 points. That's not an ice storm.
No, that ain't no ice storm. If you ignore this, you're going to ice yourself out of a majority come the midterm.
All right, when we look at these special elections, and this is something you and I talk about a lot and look at very closely in between the federal elections, what can they tell us?
Okay, so, you see this 31-point shift to the left, right? If this were just one election, that would be one thing. But it's the slew of special elections that together paint a picture, and it's a picture that Democrats should love and a picture that Republicans should be really worried about. Because what do we talking about here? Okay, the average 2025, 26 special election. Democrats are doing, get this, 12 points better. 12 points better than Kamala Harris did in 2024. That was a state special election that happened in Texas on Saturday. If you look at the federal special elections, this 12 points is actually north of 15 points on average. I was looking back through the history books. This looks a whole heck of a lot like what we saw during the 2017-2018 cycle, where you saw these Democrats outperform.
It may not be 2017, maybe 2010. I mean, people got to get focused on this. Bringing Luke Macias from the Luke Macias Show. Luke, you were great during the Paxton impeachment. Every day you were on War Room walking people through what the grassroots needed to do. Give us your assessment of what happened. Was it low turnout? Are the Trump people frustrated? Are they just not focused? I mean, to have this election on a January and a Saturday, months after the first round, I always thought was ridiculous. I thought you should have it 3 or 4 weeks after the whatever Texas law allowed, have it in November, early December, and not wait. But people did. So, Welke, you're the best at feeling at the grassroots. What happened?
Well, I like our former Texas GOP chair, Matt Rinaldi's views. He said, my view on the recent election results is that they completely validate all my political opinions, disprove everyone who has disagreed with me, and show that if my faction got everything we want, we would win every election every time. So that's probably what almost every single person is saying right now. I think there's an important thing that's missing out of that CNN piece. When this election happened in November, it already showed us that Democrats had energy, more energy than Republicans. You and I have talked offline about this problem, Steve. 2,000 less Democrat votes were cast in the special election for Taylor Remmett in that swing, even though he came short in the first round. But more than 20,000 people that came out and voted for a Republican for Senate in November did not come back out. Governor Abbott actually called this as soon as he could by Texas law. There's some restrictions on mail-in ballots and overseas people and things like that. But the reality is that Republicans did not take this race as seriously. And I think there are 3 factors that we need to think about. One is that there are some disenfranchised conservatives. They're patriots. They're people that you and I know very well that are just very frustrated with the lack of things that are happening. But some of those people are not participating in elections. The Democrats think they are at war. They think they are about to lose. They think they're one election away from some fascist takeover of our country. And that's their mentality. So they're showing up in droves. And honestly, you don't even have to spend a lot of money talking to them. The left doesn't have to talk to them tremendously. They're just showing up where we're having to yell at our people. So there's some disenfranchised individuals. There's some Republicans that just think we're winning. They're consuming the daily media storm from Fox News and other places, and they just think Republicans are winning, Democrats are losing. What do I have to worry about? And then the third thing, and this is the most heinous part, is that the other Republican who lost this, John Huffman, who's a more moderate Republican, he represents that Bush moderate Chamber of Commerce establishment wing of the GOP. He was celebrating the night of this election and put a statement out basically saying that he and his people didn't feel that Lee had done enough to ask them to vote. and understand that that moderate wing is trying to, not only in this special election, but I think they're thinking about doing this for November, is they're thinking about sitting out for any Republican nominee that is a true, strong conservative in an attempt to try to take the party back in the direction of the Bush wing. The moderates in the Texas GOP that have been out of power for a decade are already trying to recruit someone to try to take the party back so that they can get a Texas GOP chair who's not actually holding Republicans accountable. So you see a lot of different things at play here. I'm sure there's several ways we could take this conversation.
Yeah, look, one thing I don't think people are cognizant of, maybe down here in Texas, but this guy was a machine shop foreman. He's a part of a union, and nothing about him personally, but the energy you see in the Democratic Party is not your old Democratic Party. The DSA and more of these far left wing, you see it with Mondami, you see it in Minneapolis. You nailed it. These people believe they're at war. If you go back to the Make Elections Great Again legislation, we're asking for basic stuff. Voter ID, right? Purge the rolls of people that are not eligible to vote in these districts anymore, right? And just do some basic stuff on mail-in ballots so they can't be abused like they've been in the past, like signature verification. Very modest things. They think it's the end of them because they know if that is enforced, it is the end of them. You have DSA, Working Family Party DSA down in Houston is already a pretty prominent thing. You're seeing the tactics. They had a grassroots movement. This movement is energized because they do believe that President Trump and MAGA is the end of them. And they're fighting like it is the end of them. We are not yet. For some reason, people are sitting there going, hey, President Trump's in. We've got the House. We got the Senate. I look at various broadcasts. All I see is winning. It's too much winning. And they have the energy to get out. And these people are far left wing. These are not moderates. These are not old school Texas Democrats. It's a whole different reality. It's closer to what Mondami stands for in New York City. Your thoughts?
The War Room Posse is probably hearing this going, what are you talking about? Because everybody I know knows we're at war. And the truth is, that's why they know who Lee Wamsgans is. That's why those who were in Tarrant County went out and voted for her. The reality is, though, most of the Republicans you know in your life do not have that mentality. They don't believe that we're actually one election away from having Democrats take a substantial amount of power back. This is happening in the reddest county in America, the largest red county in America, Tarrant County, Fort Worth, Arlington. Democrats have been trying to get a larger foothold in Texas for a long time, and they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars this election to do so. The problem is, if you just consume your average Republican media, you think we are winning. They focus on the things that are happening and they talk about how dumb the left is. But I think what you understand is that the left is energized. You do not even have to tell them to vote. I'm telling you, these guys are just showing up. And that's what I'm concerned about. The Republican Party of Texas was texting and reaching out to every Republican. The Tarrant GOP, actually our local GOP chair, grassroots guy, working really hard. The statewide elected officials, Lee's campaign, other outside groups reaching out to people. There were individuals who got 10 texts, 5 mailers, the addresses. People talk to them. They get invited to teletown halls with Ted Cruz and Brandon Gill and all these people, and they didn't show up to vote. And the Democrats were showing up every single day. So I think understanding just how much energy they have is really important. But yeah, I will say this. CNN is not accurate to say this means that Texas is going to shift by 30 points. But what it is an indicator of is the fact that they have way more energy on their side. And if we don't wake up, we are going to lose seats we otherwise wouldn't have lost, and know that the moderate establishment forces in Texas are doing everything they can to make sure that any conservative Republican nominee does not fare well in an attempt to steer the entire party apparatus back into the middle.
Two things. Number one, they think they're going to pull a Colorado on Texas. You can see how they're already laying the issues down, et cetera. Also, 2018, as I warned, if you didn't focus on 2018 and do the work that Nancy Pelosi was doing that summer, she was promising they were going to impeach Trump, and they did impeach Trump, and that's going to happen. My fear right now, if you look at it, it's not a 2018 problem. I think you have a 2010, the great Tea Party revolt when we won 63 seats. These people are putting in the work and the effort, and they have the energy. What is this? What's the primary? We're down here, and we're going to spend the month in Texas. What is this primary on 3 March going to tell us about what our prospects are for November, sir?
Yeah, my dad always told me that I was really good at running with the football before I caught it when I was a receiver. And that's what often happens at the primary. So look, next month, if you're over 65, you might be getting a mail-in ballot to your house. If you requested one, there's about 5 or 6% of the people that vote that way. In 2 weeks, you can go early vote, and then you can go vote. Of course, this election is 4 weeks from Tuesday. This thing is going to be upon us before we even know it. And the reality is that there are a lot of liberal Republicans, especially in the rural areas, that are being challenged by conservative challengers who should be held accountable. Now, there's a really good opportunity we have to make sure that the Republicans are on the ballot in November are actually the conservatives, the ones who are going to walk the walk after they win in November. So I think there's a massive battle going on in Texas for the next 30 days. You know this, but 17 Republican incumbents lost their primary 2 years ago to conservative challengers. We have been moving this state to the right consistently every single election cycle, and this election cycle should be no different. So there's open seats that matter. There are current champions in the legislature, Andy Hopper, David Lowe, Brian Harrison, these guys who are being challenged from their left. Okay, so the Austin Swamp has recruited people to try to take them out. They are running. So everybody needs to be on the alert. And I just want to remind everybody, you know this, but if they vote and actually just post on their social media that they did vote, that they researched the candidates, that they know who actually are the good conservative choices, they're going to have multiple friends reach out and not even know there's an election going on. They're not going to cast one ballot. They're going to cast 2, 3, 4, or 5 legally because they're actually informed. So I think there's a really good opportunity here in the next 30 days, and I hope we can keep talking about that. Thank you for coming down to Texas to focus on these important elections, Steve.
Luke, one more time before I let you go. Your advice and warning to the grassroots of Texas. The grassroots, as Texas goes, so goes the nation, and particularly President Trump's presidency. If we're to lose these midterms, we lose the House, it's going to be a very different deal starting in 2027. What is your advice and warning? We got about a minute, sir.
First, let's focus for the next 30 days on making sure that the Republican ticket that we have going forward in November is one that we can be proud of and know with confidence is going to deliver on the promises that give us the energy to go out and tell every single person we know to go vote. And then when that happens, we have to make sure that we also don't start shooting other conservatives in our own party. Now, we do have moderate forces in our party, but we have really good conservative leadership that's actually been willing to be a voice for the grassroots. Everybody's really frustrated right now. So I think we need to really hone in our frustrations on the most moderate forces in our party and try to minimize their influence, win in March, and then actually work our tails off knowing that the Democrats are really, really, really angry, really scared, and we're not. Some of that lack of fear comes from our faith in Christ, but some of that just comes from a complacency. We can't be complacent because if you wake up in November and Democrats have made serious grounds, you're going to have red counties that went blue. You're going to have a House majority that has swung not just a little in Democrats' favor, but a ton in Democrats' favor, which gives them a lot of wiggle room to screw up the America First agenda for not just one cycle, but the next 10 years.
Luke, social media, and where do we get to your show, sir?
At Luke Macias TX on X and on YouTube, The Luke Macias Show. Follow it anytime. We do once a week, not every single day. Sorry, Steve, I just don't have the stamina. But we talk about what's happening in Texas. Less than 30 minutes, the inside of Texas politics.
Sir, you're terrific. Thank you for coming on this morning. Short break.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. every storm, every moment of uncertainty.
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hi, I'm Chris from Illinois. We like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guts. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump 24, Retribution.
Hi, this is Chris from Colorful Colorado. I'm drawbridge in the Getter Chat. I trust no one for my news except Real America's Voice. So if anyone asks, I was never here.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? You ever talk to the host? You can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back. Make sure you go. Peter and I are going to talk. Dr. Navarro, we're going to go to the White House. He's going to join us momentarily. Peter Navarro is one of the best analysts and observers of what's going on with the Chinese Communist Party, not just their economics, but also their military, political, all that. She's come out over the weekend and let the cat out of the bag that he's very focused on making the Chinese currency a competing reserve currency to the United States dollar. That is something we've warned about for years. This is why we did the end of the dollar empire, because it's quite evident that the Chinese Communist Party is going to kind of compete with us everywhere to become a hegemon. Go to birchgold.com, promo code Bannon, end of the dollar empire. You get all up to speed. In 5 years, we've been putting this out. Started when gold was 1,000. Gold's all over the place now. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team. Do it today. I'm trying to get Philip on tomorrow. So I've got a bunch of hitters in a row. I got Peter Navarro. I got Peter Schweitzer, Captain Fennell, Natalie Winters. All we're going to talk about China, geopolitics, and your money. And the foreign powers, CCP in Mexico, assisting this invasion of the country. Dr. Navarro, I want to come on with you, bring you up now. By the way, the president put out a very nice photo. If we can put that up today, it says some nice things about Dr. Navarro and yours truly. And I wanted, that is from Peter Navarro's wedding. I think I was giving a toast to you, Peter. It was a great, your bride was absolutely beautiful, Bonnie. You definitely married.
I think you were talking about the rise of gold, man. We couldn't
Well, I had to, I was given a toast and I had to make it. I thought, I'd get a sponsor hit in there just in case, because you had a pretty prominent crew.
You were at the right place.
Exactly, the gold room. Peter, growth, economic growth. The president, I think, is quite concerned about a government shutdown. His theory is that, hey, it took a couple of points off of last year's growth as your guys' economic plan, particularly tariffs, forcing manufacturing back here, also the money, cash coming in of tariffs, the big, beautiful bill, the supply side tax cut. It's all clicking. I'm here in Texas, and the Sunday paper in Texas, because they had a huge freeze last week, Peter, it had this huge story on the front. It said, freeze is over, economy heats up. In North Texas, in the Dallas area, I think things are starting to kick in as you guys forecasted. How treacherous are the Democrats right now? Because we talked with Mike Davis. I mean, they are really trying to jam us up on immigration enforcement, particularly mass deportations, with all these things they want from President Trump, including judicial warrants to basically deport anybody. Your thoughts, sir?
Chapter 37 in the Democrats hate Trump more than they love this country. This is just a variation on that theme. I mean, the shutdown will slow things down. It'll cost people's jobs, and it will lessen the good pressures to increase wages. So I guess what's important as we move into the November cycle, Steve, is just to keep reminding people of how we got to where we were when Trump took over. We were in one of the worst places we've been in since the Great Depression. We had skyrocketing inflation. We had a recession on the horizon. We had real wages, which were once again negative, meaning that inflation was outrunning the wage level. And Donald Trump has turned that around. I mean, 2026, absent shocks like government shutdowns and things that could happen geopolitically, is positioned to be, Steve, one of the best years in this country's history. It's pretty amazing. It's all Trump policy driven. I mean, the fountainhead is the drill baby drill policies, because it's not just lower gas we pay and lower heating oil. I mean, it filters through transportation costs for companies, fertilizer and food prices, and the whole ball of wax. We've got the largest tax rebate coming in history in April for the middle class, and that's going to be a tremendous lift to the economy. We've seen $18 trillion of investment pledged and already beginning to bear fruits. And one of the things I'm doing, Steve, is I do these little 3-minute hits on the Navarro Express podcast where I look at the data and actually give you the right interpretation of the data. For example, just on Friday, the producer price index came out, and it was like people were like tearing their hair out, oh, it's inflationary, this, that, and the other thing. But when you look beneath the hood of that, the increase was driven purely by an artifact of, I don't know if you know this, Steve, but when the stock market goes up significantly, it actually pushes the inflation index up. But it's got nothing to do with meat and potatoes, bread and things like that on the table. And in fact, the same PPI report showed that what I've been watching very carefully is the rebirth of our manufacturing capacity. So that, 100% expensing on a big, beautiful bill. And then people are going to have money in their pockets. It's not just the rebate, it's the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime and seniors, no tax on Social Security. Steve, that's huge. That's a big hit. So, and of course, the trade deficit. I mean, I've been saying this for 10 years now. It's like when you have a falling deficit, that's reflected in higher GDP growth. It's purely a mathematical equation, and we were losing 1 to 2% of GDP every year for the last 20 years as our factories have gone offshore. And now that's coming back. So things look really good. The new Fed chair announcement, I think you and I agree, is puzzling in the sense that he has a reputation for being hawkish and a strong dollar guy. And I always thought the term weak and strong dollar were wrong. That's not what it's all about. It's like, what's a fairly valued dollar in a world of fair trade? It's been hurting us. And by the way, you led off with the Chinese, Steve. It's like, how is Xi Jinping going to create a global currency when they've got like 30 years of history engaged in currency manipulation? I mean, why would any country want to tie their currency to the biggest currency manipulator in world history?
Peter,
but of
hang
course,
on for 1
China's
second.
doing that to avoid sanctions.
We just want to hold you quickly. I know you got a bolt. We just want to hold you quickly through the break. The bold choice of President Trump for Fed chair. Kevin Warshall got some very interesting theories on productivity and how to grow with no inflation. I think
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Monday, 2 February in the year of our Lord 2026. Peter Schweitzer's on deck, Natalie Winters, Captain Fennell. I've got Dr. Navarro, our trade czar. So, Dr. Navarro, Kevin Warsh, he was the cover bid back when, you know, for some reason, not enough due diligence was done on Powell, and he was selected. Kevin's got some very interesting, sophisticated thoughts about growth, non-inflationary growth, to hit these kind of hyper growth targets the president's talking about, 4 or 5%, maybe even higher, and not have inflation with increases in productivity. It's one of the reasons, I think, central reasons that he was selected, although maybe on monetary policy he's not 100% on board, but it's this growth with no inflation, because that's what 2026 is going to be about. You tackle both the affordability issue and the with growth and with maybe turbo growth. Is that why you say this could be the best year in a long time for the American economy? Is 2026, given what you guys accomplish, both with trade, the commercial relationships, the supply side tax cut to go into plant and equipment, and eventually by May at the latest, we won't have too late Powell around, sir?
Steve, you said something really, really important here, because there's a seeming contradiction between Kevin Warsh's hawkish view on inflation and wanting a strong dollar versus what we want, which is a lower interest rate environment. Okay, and here's how you square that circle. With Jay Powell, arguably the dumbest, most malevolent Fed chairman we've had in our history, has never been able to understand is how Trump policies, including tariffs, can actually produce non-inflationary strong growth. He just didn't get the paradigm. He assumed back in 2018, when we were rocking and rolling, that somehow as the economy was accelerating, that had to create inflation. He couldn't wrap around his head around deregulation, strategic energy dominance, tariffs, basically leading to strong non-inflationary growth. The hope here is that Kevin Warsh understands that. So it can be no longer a contradiction that he's an inflation hawk, and yet he will lower interest rates because he understands how the Trump economy works. And so that's the most important thing I'm probably going to tell you in the next 2 months, because that's what we need to watch. We need to watch Warsh's rhetoric, and we need to watch exactly what he did. And by the way, Steve, I don't know, nobody should think that the Fed chairman is God and can simply determine interest rate policy. He's stuck essentially with a hostile majority on the Federal Reserve Board until we clean house. The big question is going to be whether Powell resigns or not. If he sticks around, he'll try to screw us.
I think President Trump. I think President Trump said this about Hassett coming out of the race. He likes the team he's got. He's made bets on these policies. They're starting to work. He's got Besson at Treasury, Hassett at NEC. He's got Jameson Greer as the trade czar. He's got you as your manufacturing guy. He likes the team he's got in place. You guys are all in harness, pulling. You just don't need a too late Powell. You used the word malevolent, and I think you're absolutely correct. I think there's a lot of animosity there by Powell to President Trump's populist nationalist policies, which are clearly working, and he's part of the globalist old guard that's going to fight this. Peter, I want to tell the audience, you're putting up these little clips every day to explain it in layman's terms. Where do we go get all your content, sir?
Yeah, just go to peternavarro.com. It's the gateway to the podcast. It's called the Navarro Express. It's the gateway to the Substack. It's the gateway to X, Getter, and Truth. And we're really putting out some really good content. The videos are kind of 60-second videos, Steve. We're getting close to 1 million hits on those things now every time they go up. And the important part about them is that they actually explain in lay terms the nuances of economic policy, which is it's hard to do, but somehow we pull it off. So check it out, peternavarro.com. And Steve, you're at the forefront of economics commentary. It's like I think people learn more listening to your show than they do listening to the financial news, or certainly reading the Journal or Bloomberg or the FT, which are all they're all colored. They all have an internal bias, a Wall Street bias against the Trump policies. And somehow we're going to win this one because when people have more food on their table at cheaper prices, bigger paychecks, better retirement, houses that they can buy for a change, they're going to say, Trumponomics is what works. Trust in Trump.
He's got the right team. He's got the right policy. I think he was very clear on the Warsh pick. I like Hassett at NEC. The White House is working great with Treasury.
We have a great team, and don't forget Howard Lutnick. Okay,
Howard Lutnick of Commerce.
5 of us here, and Howard. I mean, Commerce has a tremendous role to play with the 232 investigations and the anti-dumping countervailing duties. Jameson over at USTR is lead point on all the negotiating. Scott's kind of the master of the international finance system, and Kevin has a fine touch in terms of understanding kind of the basic macro indicators, and he played a big role, Steve, in the big beautiful bill, and that's always been Kevin's wheelhouse is taxes. So I can't think of a better team for President Trump this time around. And by the way, Jay Powell, Mnuchin's folly. Okay.
No,
that was Steve Mnuchin.
President Trump, when he's unshackled from that, I think he sees it. You can have non-inflationary growth rates of 4% and 5%. I mean, and like you said, this is unheard of. Anyway, Peter, I know you got a bolt.
All right, brother.
We'll put the videos up. Thank you so much.
I love that picture that the boss put out on Truth of you and I. That's
I don't know where they got it, but thank you. That was a great wedding.
Here.
Two other great ones. The great Dan Scavino, one of the best guys, got married this weekend at Mar-a-Lago, and of course Alice Brusewitz. A lot of folks went down for that. Alice got married also this weekend. So big events in MAGA world. I got a cold open for Peter Schweitzer. I want to play this. It's going to be in Spanish, so we may not be able to understand all. If you got the TV, you'll see the closed caption. Let's go ahead. These are Mexican officials responding to Peter Schweitzer's Invisible Coup, which is the New York Times #1 bestseller. We're not bringing on chopped liver here, only the best. New York Times #1 bestseller for a conservative book is almost unheard of. Let's see what the Mexican government had to say about his New York Times #1 bestseller, Invisible Coup.
Ayer salió un comunicado de la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores. Es una persona que escribió este libro, de ahí retomaron. Es un libro que dice que desde los consulados estamos haciendo política para Estados Unidos o en Estados Unidos, cosa que es absolutamente falsa. Los consulados tienen una labor que está determinada por las leyes internacionales y lo que hacen nuestros consulados esencialmente es la protección de los mexicanos en Estados Unidos y la atención de los mexicanos en Estados Unidos. Esa es su labor.
Thank you. Peter, as we say in the narrative warfare business, you drew blood. What was the president of Mexico's not a big fan of your book, although she might have bought a couple of 3 copies to have it read by her cabinet. What was her response? You actually said there are members in these Mexican consulates. They got 53 when every other big nation in the world's got 4 or 5 or 6. You've got guys in the Senate that have maps. I think it was a map in the back of one of the things, the United States of Mexico, and it's got areas of the United States in it. You called these guys out, not the cartels, not the 7 families that own the country, but the political class up there for actively working on this invasion, or as you say in your subtitle, using immigration as a weapon. Their response, sir, what was her response directly to you?
Well, it's funny. She didn't use my name. She was asked about the book with my name, and she said, "That man with that book." Was the way that she described me. What's funny about her response, Steve, is she says, "No, it's absolutely false." But the book, I know you've read it, the book literally quotes Mexican consular officials as saying this is what they're doing. They're meeting amongst themselves. They're talking about how they're conspiring against Trump to prevent Republicans from getting elected. There are quotes in there from consular officials saying that they're paying for people to apply for citizenship because they want to get more voters. So she's denying the facts of what her own people are saying. And it's funny, Steve, because as much as they are open in saying this amongst themselves, they are desperate to make sure that the majority of American people don't pay attention. I want to read to you yet another quote. This is from the head of the Mexican news agency. And this is what he said, which I think captures it perfectly. He says, quote, "We are quietly carrying out the reconquest of our territories the U.S. took from us in 1848. The reconquest of the Aztec territory is silent, and the day the gringos realize this, their diabolical fundamentalism will become macabre." In other words, we don't want them to really figure out what's going on. This is the guy, by the way, who's the head literally of like the Associated Press of Mexico. So they're scared and they're nervous, and I appreciate the War Room and the War Room posse buying the book. We are #1 on the New York Times list, despite the fact that nobody in the establishment media wanted that to happen.
No, they still refuse to review it because there's too many truths in here. I want to hold you through the break, but before you go to break, to have in Mexico, a journalist actually ask her about this book shows you how afraid they are, because the media class down there, et cetera, is very tuned into what's the government's happening. So this clearly, they're hearing that, hey, this guy Schweitzer, who's very prominent in MAGA movement, has written 5 New York Times bestsellers in a row. This is #1 New York Times. So this book's getting a wide hearing. Invisible Coup. It was dangerous enough that they felt they had to ask her, and it sounded like she wanted to get out in front of this too, saying this man is a total liar. This is what the gringos do. It's a complete and total lie. I mean, are you pretty impressed that the book would have that impact in Mexico, and they just wouldn't say, slough it off, we don't have to address this? Clearly, they felt they had to address it.
Yeah, and you also had the Mexican ambassador to the United States go on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday on Fox News on her Sunday show, and she asked him about it, and you got the same kind of answer, which was, oh, no, we would absolutely never do that. So they clearly are scared. They clearly are nervous. Scheinbaum also, in her responses to the book, also attempted to sort of separate Trump from me, saying, well, this guy's kind of crazy and Trump doesn't buy into this stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to speak for President Trump, but I did meet with him and we talked about the book, and he sent out a very nice comment on Truth Social praising the book, telling everybody to buy it. So they're clearly nervous. And I would add, Steve, we're starting to slowly get the wheels grinding in Washington. I've been asked by Senator Schmidt of Missouri to testify before the Judiciary Committee in March on the China birthright citizenship. And I think we're going to start getting some action in some of the other government agencies to really start taking the fight to the people that have weaponized immigration against us.
If you just stay through the break, in fact, I want to pivot next to China. Xi put out a notice over the weekend that he intends to have the Chinese currency compete with the United States as a prime reserve currency. If you read Peter's book, Invisible Coup, you understand that the strategies of Mexico and the CCP are quite different. They're two foreign powers that are using immigration as a weapon against us. The Chinese Communist Party, I think, has grander designs. We're going to take a short commercial break. Take your phone out and text Bannon, B-A-N-N-O-N, at 989898. Get the ultimate guide. This guide is free, no obligations. We're investing in gold and precious metals in the age of Trump, and you get access to Philip Patrick. That's what you need. You need to talk to him.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hi, I'm Chris from Illinois. We like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guts. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump 24, Retribution.
Hi, this is Chris from Colorful Colorado. I'm drawbridge in the Getter Chat. I trust no one for my news except Real America's Voice. So if anyone asks, I was never here.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love Rav? You ever talk to the host? You can do that on Rav. And the Rav family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
Do you respond to Peter Schweizer's comments there?
First of all, thank you for having me, Maria. I think that facts are much better than opinions. And I just want to tell you that when he says that we're working against President Trump, you know that the votes of Latinos to President Trump rose from 28% in 2016 to 48% in 2025. Mexican migration has been dropping constantly since 2000. And so what you see is that reality offers a very different view. Mexican and United States governments are working very, very closely in order to tackle the migratory issue. You've heard President Trump saying in the UN and in Davos that the border is the most secure border in the world. And regarding security, you know that deaths because of fentanyl overdose have dropped 27% in the U.S. And that's because President Sheinbaum has been very, very tough against Mexican cartels. You know that she sent 10,000 soldiers to the border. She has apprehended 24,000 people, and they have destroyed about 1,700 labs in Mexico. So the thing that you can see is that Mexico is part of the solution, not the problem.
You know, my eyes aren't what they used to be, Peter Schweizer, but the ambassador for Mexico to the United States, is he sitting in front of a map that says the United States of Mexico and it's got like territories of the United States in it? Sir?
Yeah, it literally says that right across the United States. That is the name of Mexico, but it is ironic because President Sheinbaum talks about, the United States being Mexico North. And it's funny because I just want to read to you. This is a song that President Sheinbaum had commissioned. This is a song they play at Mexico at all the official events. It's called the Migrant Hymn. And this is how helpful they're being, Steve. It says, and though my birth certificate says American, I am pure Mexican. We change places, but not flags. I carry green, white, and red in my veins. That's the color of their flag. Like the eagle, we fly without borders. We break through the fence that separates lands. And I could go on and on and on. The point is, they have a public posture, which is, no, we're partners. We're dealing with this issue. And then they have all this stuff that they are doing. They talk about it amongst themselves in Mexico. So it's time to cast off these official statements and deal with the realities of the things that they say amongst themselves, which I think is completely shocking and contrary to everything they're saying in public.
No, you've nailed it. The subtitle of the book is How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. They're using it as a weapon for the Reconquista. The book is Invisible Coup. We won it on New York Times #1 for 2 weeks in a row, so we got to buy today and tomorrow. Peter, China, different. China has a strategic goal to become a hegemon, and that is to make the United States not a co-hegemon, not a competing power. All these theories inside the Pentagon and the State Department, these guys want total, complete, and full domination. You can see that in your book of what they're trying to do. Right now, I'm going to have Natalie and Captain Fennell. Is there a coup going on? Is she consolidating power? But in your book, it is a very well thought through strategic plan to take down the United States. Is it not, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. And immigration is a part of that. And Steve, they're using techniques that they tried to use in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong government shut down birthright citizenship for Chinese because around 2010, half of all the births in Hong Kong were Chinese nationals who were flying into that country to give birth because Hong Kong had birthright citizenship. So they shut it down because they saw what it was, a subversive effort to gain further influence in that that country. And of course, now Hong Kong is all gone, essentially. They're doing the same thing in the United States. We're obviously bigger than Hong Kong, but the scale is unbelievable. We in the United States have no idea how many birthright citizens are being minted every day because we don't track that data, which in and of itself is shocking. When you get a birth certificate in the United States, it does not list the nationality of the parents. And our federal government says we have no idea how many people are doing this. But the Chinese do. The Chinese government does, and Chinese research firms do. And those numbers are shocking. They say that over the last 13 years, every year, roughly 100,000 Chinese nationals have flown to the United States, given birth to a child in the U.S., got the birthright citizenship, and as soon as the baby was, old enough and capable, they fly back to China where they are being raised. And when they are 18 years old, even though they lived here for a week after they were born, they are U.S. citizens, and they're going to be able to vote. They're going to be able to donate to political campaigns. They're going to be able to apply for, sensitive government jobs, even though they have lived in China their entire life and they're the children of the Chinese elite. So this is a massive manipulation of our immigration system. I'm hoping that the Supreme Court, when they hear this case, they are going to factor in the research in the book, which points out this is not rando stuff where somebody just kind of wanders across the border. They're working a job here for 18 years. They happen to give birth. They're staying here. That's an issue in and of itself. But what China's doing is industrial scale. It's on a massive scale, and it needs to be nipped in the bud. They're doing the same thing, Steve, with the EB-5 visas, those corrupt visas where you can basically give $1 million. You create jobs, allegedly. You get permanent resident status in the United States. That visa program, the EB-5 program, was written by a Chinese spy named Maria Tsai. We now know that she was a spy when she pushed for and got that bill passed. We know it's dominated by the Chinese. 90% of the people getting EB-5 permanent resident status are Chinese. And we know the reason that they want it. They want it not so much to live in the United States, because very few of them do. They want it because when you get permanent resident status in the United States, you can legally donate to political campaigns. And they're doing it to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And those donations break 80-20 Democrat-Republican.
Peter Schweitzer, the book is Invisible Coup. You're making it visible. New York Times #1 bestseller. We need people to pile into this. Where they go, social media and your site to get this book and get it today and get one for a friend. Also, anybody thinks that you're over the top on what you're saying about the invasion of this country, get this book for them and they will actually agree with you. Peter, where they go?
You can go to at Peter Schweitzer on Twitter. You can go to thedrilldown.com. That's my podcast. And you can also find me on Facebook, and you can find me at peterschweitzer.com.
Peter, fantastic. Look forward to your testimony. We'll have you on 3 times before that to make sure the audience is fully up to speed. Eric Schmidt, what a great senator. Thank you, Peter. Let's get this book #1 2 weeks in a row. Everybody's got to read this book. When the Mexican government is responding to questions from Maria Bartiromo and Shine Bombs trying to defend it by, spinning, you got something serious. Do we have Captain Fennell? Captain Fennell, can you make sense? We've had different POSO, we've had people from the new federal state, other experts. What's going on in China, because that's going to inform our discussion with Natalie Winters. Is this a coup by the military to try to take out Xi, or is this a Xi consolidation of power? Is Xi on the ropes, or is he more powerful than ever, sir?
Xi is more powerful than ever, and I've been very concerned, and I've expressed it to you offline, that there seems to be a large amount of internet traffic coming to us, telling us that Xi is, isolated, under threat, has no control over the PLA. It's been a coup against him. Others say he was having a coup against the PLA. A year ago, they said the general that Xi just purged was consolidating things for Xi. There are a lot of rumors out there. And if you go back over the last three or 4 years, there's been rumors about Chinese ballistic missile submarine sinking in the East China Sea. That turned out to not be true. They told us that Xi had a heart attack or a stroke. That turned out to not be true. And now they're telling us that Xi is at risk and isolated, and that there's no capability in the PLA, that the PLA will not fight for him. And these are all really wrong rumors that are not based upon fact. We have just seen over the last 5 years, China has increased their flights around Taiwan by 5-fold. They went from over 380 flights in 2020 to 5,700 flights this last year. They're flying across the Taiwan Strait. They never flew across the Taiwan Strait with military aircraft for 60 years. And since 2020, they're flying 1,000 times a year across the strait. They're doing exercises, firing missiles at Taiwan. The PLA Navy is the largest in the world. They have the most anti-ship cruise missiles in the world. Xi reformed the PLA in 2015 from 7 military regions to 5 theater commands. They have an information support force that they didn't have before that supports all the theater commands. They have a joint logistics support force that supports the 5 theater commands, and they are actually expanding their military operations around the world, not just in the Far East, but with the Russians in the Sea of Japan, in the Arctic, in the Mediterranean, down off of South Africa here in the last month. So what we're seeing from all military evidence is that the PLA is on this trajectory. It's going up. There has been no declination in any way, shape, or form over the last 13 years since Xi has been in power. It continues to increase. And we just saw in the last 2 weeks, since all this rumors of this alleged coup, Xi is meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister of Finland. He's meeting with the Prime Minister of Uruguay right now. He's going to meet with the Chancellor of Germany next week. So he's meeting with all these leaders. There's been reports of gunfire and shooting in the streets of Beijing. All wild speculation. And I don't want to assert why people are doing this, but I think some people have a hope that things are cracking in China and they're trying to feed this mindset. But the reality is that's not happening, and Xi is in greater control, and the risk to an invasion of Taiwan is greater today than ever before.
Captain, hang on for 1 second. We'll hold you to the break. Natalie Winters.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the host, even management. We are
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, two special offers for the War Room Posse. Number one, HometitleLock.com. Every dream you've ever had is in that home of yours. And remember, for this younger generation, the average age of first-time buyers is now 40 years old. If you're lucky enough to own a home, make sure that no one, because of the rudimentary systems about these titles, can get into it, whether cyber, AI, rogue lawyer, rogue accountant, rogue relative. They give you a free check. HometitleLock.com. 14 days, you'll get to see their $1 million triple lock protection. Just go to HometitleLock.com, promo code Steve. Talk to Natalie Dominguez and the team today. Find out all about the service. Take away the angst and the anxiety of some hard money lender gets into your title, take out a second of $50,000 or $100,000 you got to pay off those high interest rates, and they don't want to hear your tale of woe. Also, Tax Network USA. Right now, you know the IRS is in a bond. What they think you owe versus what you think you owe, I'm sure there's a gap. You get a free assessment today. If you call 800-958-1000, tell them you're a member of the War Room Posse, that Steve Bannon sent you. You get a free analysis of exactly what your tax dilemma is. They've solved $1 billion worth of problems. There is nothing you've done in taxes that they haven't heard about before. So call them up. It's free. 800-958-1000. Tell them your tale of woe and get a free assessment. Or go to tnusa.com and go there today. Natalie Winters, by the way, when Peter Schweitzer told me, Natalie, that he thinks you're the single best investigator into things on the Chinese Communist Party, that's a pretty high compliment coming from a guy that's had back-to-back New York Times #1 bestsellers about the Chinese Communist Party. But Peter knows your diligence and reads your stuffs and studies it like every China hand does. You just had Captain Fennell, who is, former senior naval intelligence out in the Pacific Fleet, and really gave up his career to warn the nation during the Obama presidency about the rise of the Chinese military, and particularly the Chinese Navy, and what dilemma that was going to put us into in Taiwan, Eastern Europe, Eastern Asia, Taiwan Straits, South China Sea, East China Sea, plus the Pacific Islands that are American territories. You've been doing a lot of independent research recently. I know you went to Asia and just came back again for the second time to Japan. Jim, when Captain Fennell was walking through it, didn't talk about the UK. I think one of the most humiliating things I've ever seen is Starmer going over there. I think it was last week. And what it showed me is where I was talking to the captain about the long memory of the Chinese and the Chinese Communist Party. This ritual humiliation of Starmer while he was kowtowing shows you they have not forgotten the Opium War. They have not forgotten what happened around Hong Kong. They have not forgotten how they thought they had to kowtow to the British Empire. Ma'am, you've been doing a lot of research. Talk to me first about the string of meetings that she's had with these foreign leaders over the last couple of weeks.
Well, look, I think we're in an era of global fealty to China, and you're seeing that on full display right now. And I think the past that you're discussing, which is certainly informing the present, certainly scary. But I think what's even more concerning is really the Chinese Communist Party's conception of the future. You heard it from Mark Carney himself, right? This concept of the new world order, that's something we've been talking about for a while, whereby China is the new sort of global hegemon, replacing the United States. And I think that when you see what's going on, particularly with the Central Military Commission and the escalation of things in Taiwan, I think it's fair to say that's going to become the sort of kinetic flashpoint for all of the diplomatic meetings that you're seeing going on. I think they're at their sixth high-level, government president-to-president meeting already for 2026, like Captain Fennell said, with the Uruguayan leader there right now. But I think what's so important to understand about the changes on the CMC, which of course follows, significant overhaul. Basically, everybody is gone now. The second in command, not just on the CMC, but to Xi Jinping being ousted. I think there's sort of this common misconception that it's the older generals who are really hostile and want to move on Taiwan, when in reality, it's the younger ones, particularly those that we've seen be appointed to be commanders, sort of in the Eastern Theater, obviously more relevant to Taiwan. But those are the people who, not just because they have this sort of fealty and almost this weird, in the most traditional sense, political correctness, where they don't want to madden Xi Jinping, they don't feel like they can stand up to him. Whereas the old guard is a little more hesitant. You even saw that with the second in command, who was just relieved or is being investigated now. He was sort of more on the 2035 timeline for potentially being ready for a Taiwan invasion, as opposed to the more aggressive 2027 version. I also think it's worth noting too that the individual who was just ousted, he was sort of the point person, at least for a while under Joe Biden, having sort of, back channel discussions, at least military to military comms, related to Taiwan, related to a host of issues. And I think that dynamic is going to be very interesting to watch in the shakeup, because essentially what you're going to see is that everybody over there, no one is going to want to converse with the United States, converse with Taiwan, converse with the West, right? Because the guy who was basically the point person on doing that was ousted, not necessarily for doing that, but I think it sets a really concerning cascade effect. I also would point to, I think what you saw go on in Venezuela, obviously the reporting talking about how, the Chinese air defense systems there failed. That's pretty damning for the Chinese. Obviously, they're going to recalibrate after that. So I think that's why you've seen such a significant overhaul too. And I think the most important thing to understand the internal dynamics there is that the only thing that Xi Jinping fears is really a military coup, which I think you could see happen if a Taiwan invasion were to actually occur, but more importantly, to drag on in sort of a Russia-style invasion. So I think those are the relevant dynamics at play. But I also think something that the audience really needs to stay ahead of the curve on. Of course, Western media is not going to cover it. They actually think that everything that's going on at the CMC is good for Taiwan. I would say Taiwan should be nervous. But that is what's going on with the KMT and the Chinese Communist Party, the KMT being the opposition to the DPP, which favors a much stronger defense, not just subsidized by America, but by Taiwan itself, against the Chinese Communist Party. They're pushing a special defense budget right now, around $40 billion that the KMT, which are basically, let's just call them what they are, the CCP over in Taiwan, are desperately trying to kill. And really an affront to the Taiwanese people. They are, I think it's concluding shortly, but making really a concerning 3-day delegation trip visit to the mainland, to Beijing, meeting with high-level Chinese Communist Party officials, particularly on the Taiwan desk, visiting Tsinghua University, doing, the whole pomp and circumstance, the whole tour over there, with the vice chairman of the party and about 40 scholars from the think tank that is affiliated with the party there. This, of course, being a precursor to having the actual chairman of the party go over there, though, of course, the KMT had to do a lot of favors to the Chinese Communist Party to even get this meeting in the first place. But this, I think, is really concerning. Obviously, we focus on the sort of hybrid warfare, the gray zone stuff, the political infiltration. But this is pretty in your face, right? Obviously, the KMT is pretty hollowed out by the Chinese Communist Party. But the kowtowing and the groveling, particularly over this special defense budget. Obviously, the Trump administration, allotted billions of dollars to Taiwan, but Taiwan themselves are focusing on, particularly through the legislative yuan, trying to get the $40 billion passed. The KMT, so that's the CCP, proxy party, has 52 seats. The DPP has 51, and then the TPP has about 8 seats. So that's where you have more wiggle room with that party. But what you're seeing really is the Chinese Communist Party, by all means necessary, trying to sabotage this special defense budget because it's so instrumental to Taiwan's defense, but also that you've seen signaling from the United States and President Trump that they support it too. So I think all of these things together show you that Xi Jinping is extremely emboldened. And anybody who's saying otherwise, that's just nonsense talk. I've been hearing China is going to collapse for decades now, before I was ever born. That's not quite true. And rhetoric like that, I think, is pretty dangerous.
Natalie, hang on. Amazing report. Captain Fennell, does everything Natalie's saying, everything that you've been saying, is she still focused? Are we still on the path to a potential invasion of Taiwan in 27 or 28, given everything that you see right now and weighing, measuring everything that Natalie's talking about?
Well, Natalie's analysis is spot on. I concur with what she said. Since 2012, I have been talking about the decade of concern. If you go back and relive Hu Jintao, the previous leader, and Xi Jinping when he took over, they ordered the PLA to have the capability to take Taiwan as early as 2020. And I believe that the latest date is around 2030. Then when Admiral Davidson left PACOM, when he retired, he came out and mentioned that there was this 2027 timeline based on the 100th anniversary of the PLA. It could be in 2027, but I guarantee you that Xi understands that in order to have this ceremony in Beijing on 1 October 2049, the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, that whoever that paramount leader is, they have to be able to say that they have restored China. They have taken all that they claim is theirs, the South China Sea, Taiwan, the Senkakus, the Ryukyus, disputed territories with India, territories with Mongolia possibly, even with Korea and Russia. They have to restore all that into their ownership. And the one that they cannot get right now has been Taiwan. And they prefer not to use force, but both Hu Jintao and I believe Jiang Zemin, but we know Hu Jintao ordered the PLA, and we know Xi ordered the PLA to be ready to take Taiwan as early as 2020. And they know that they can't use military force much past 2030 and expect the world to forget what they do and then come back to Beijing and have a big celebration like they did in the 2008 Summer Olympics when the world came and watched the opening ceremony like George Bush did with his jacket off and his sweat stains under his armpits in the Bird's Nest Stadium. So we're in this most critical time right now, the next 3-4 years, where Xi is measuring and knows that he has to either get Taiwan to buckle, and good on Natalie for mentioning the KMT is over in China right now. So he's working beneath the scenes to try to break Taiwan's will down. But if he doesn't get that through non-kinetic means, he has prepared the military to take action. And what he has been doing over this last 2 years is systematically, like a biathlete, shooting the targets in the target zone, those Central Military Commission members. He's taken them out one by one, all the resistors. And now what he has, as Natalie correctly mentioned, a younger generation of officers who's very, very keen on taking back what they've been told their whole lives is that Taiwan is Chinese territory, and they want to take it. Look at the Minister of Defense, Admiral Don Yung. He is an admiral, the first time they've ever had an admiral in charge of the Ministry of Defense. Many people poo-poo it. He's not a member of the CMC right now, but Admiral Dong's background is that he is someone that was in charge of the Eastern Theater Command, the East Sea Command, that was responsible, and they formed their first joint command back in over 15 years ago to take Taiwan. So he is intimately involved with planning to take Taiwan, and he is in charge of the Ministry of Defense. And the Western China watchers say, well, he has no power, no influence, because he's not a CMC member. He's just a diplomatic guy, and he only does diplomatic issues. I disagree with that, and I think that there's a lot of evidence that suggests that they are on this path, and we keep, in the West, deflating that threat. And what it does is it tells Congress, oh, you don't really have to pass these bills that are necessary to retransform the U.S. military. And President Trump got it. You know, on this issue of the purges, what did the president say yesterday on Air Force One when asked about it? The man in the world that's got the most intelligence is Donald Trump. And what did he say? He said, Xi is still the boss. He's still the man.
Captain Fennell, thank you very much. I guess we're going to see some writings of yours up on American greatness. We'll look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Natalie's going to stick around. Short commercial break. Back in the War Room in a moment.
Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through. Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the host, even management. We are
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Natalie is one of our top, if not the top, researcher on the Chinese Communist Party and its war against the United States. Unrestricted warfare. Does Peter Schweizer's book, Invisible Coup, show the actions of Xi and his regime are at active, unrestricted warfare within the United States, ma'am?
Is that a rhetorical question? I think, of course, we've been documenting this for years, but I also think I would use this, final minute to also say that it's not just the Chinese Communist Party. The United States is also really good right now at shooting itself in the foot, right? China's undergoing mass scale mobilization, military civil fusion, you name it, right? Our defense primes are so behind on producing numbers that still would put us behind the rate of Chinese buildup, that it's despicable. It's a shame, right? It really is managed decline, but it's accelerated decline. You see it in that, you see it in the rare earth stuff. And I don't understand still why we're giving chips, why we're giving these critical technologies to a country that has explicitly said that they are trying to destroy us and replace us. And we're seeing that on full display right now. And that's very kind of Peter to say that. I remember growing up reading his books. He's a wonderful researcher, and I'm going to have a story coming out soon talking about how there's now Chinese Communist Party linked groups that are getting in on the take when it comes to defunding ICE.
Wow. Natalie, your Substack, social media, your coordinates, where do people go, ma'am?
nataliegwinters.substack.com, Natalie G. Winters on all platforms. You can see the latest story. If you can believe it, the WHO did a pandemic simulation eerily similar to the lockdowns that we're seeing right now happen across Southeast Asia just last December. So go read that one.
Natalie Winters, amazing, as always. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The star researcher on tough topics, really in our country today, just extraordinary young woman. Chad Mizell. So Chad Mizell, he came on the show the other day, and man, Annie McCarthy, who's really a Trump derangement syndrome, he went off. You made this case that, hey, we're looking for people. I said, hey, look, the top law firms, the Federal Society, a lot of groups have put a ban on working at Main Justice for President Trump's only reason. One of the reasons, besides blue slips, they only got 14 of the 94 U.S. attorneys. You said you're working on a project now to make sure people have careers after they work. He went off on you and the whole thing that, oh, we're not looking for the best and the brightest. We're not looking for Democrats. We're not looking for independents. This is all this is another move of fascism, and Chad Mizell is off base. Now, you were former chief of staff over Main Justice. Just take a couple of minutes, explain to Annie McCarthy what you in fact are doing.
Steve, thanks so much for having me again. It's a shame I have to do this, but let me first start with the Constitution of the United States, because Andy clearly doesn't understand that. It says in Article 2, all executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. Unlike some of the other articles, this one vests all power in a single person. That means any time an executive branch officer is using executive power, an AUSA indicting somebody, charging someone, convicting somebody, bringing criminal evidence against somebody, all of that is executive power. That's included. That means if the president doesn't like how you are using his executive power, he's free to tell you, stop. Use it in a different way. And the way he communicates that to all of us is via executive orders. So if you are not on board with the president's agenda, if you're not on board with the executive orders, he is free to say, you're not allowed to use my executive power. And in fact, I don't want you in my government. And Steve, that's exactly what we were able to do at DOJ. You know, my job as chief of staff, working with Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, was to try to root out a lot of this stuff. And we got immediately to work. On day one, we dismissed about 100 people who we thought were working against Donald J. Trump. Over the course of the next several months, thousands of people from DOJ who honestly looked themselves in the mirror and said, we cannot enforce this policy, they left. And Steve, I have a lot of respect for them, because that's how government should work. It should work that if you can't follow the wishes of the duly enacted or the duly elected president of the United States, then you need to leave. And all we're looking for now are people who want to follow his agenda, who actually want to see law enforcement carried out in the United States, and who are looking forward to doing that and want to be part of the team.
Chad, where do people go for your social media? Because this fight is only going to heat up, because it's more intense than ever to get the right people in there and make sure that people are in there want to follow the president's instructions. So where do people go on your social media? Because I can tell you, Annie McCarthy is not going to back off this. I know you're not, and we want to make sure we stay current. So where do folks go?
They can message me on X. It's Chad_Mizell, Chad_Mizelle. And Steve, if I could give one point of like really positive news, I've received hundreds and hundreds of inquiries already. I mean, really, really good essays. We're talking top law schools, top law firms, top prosecutors all over the country reaching out to me. This is incredible.
This is amazing. We're going to push this clip out hard. We know there's tons of people that want to sign up. They just need to know how they do it. Chad, great work. Keep fighting. Appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
I want everybody to be a force multiplier. Please get that clip from Chad and let's push it out hard. We've already had hundreds of people respond, and nothing could be more important for us right now in taking on the deep state and effectuating President Trump's policies than making sure we get at Main Justice and these U.S. attorneys a full team. Mike Lindell, we'll talk about your governor run tonight and off, but in the rest of the week. The audience right now wants to know, what are the deals? Give me a deal to kick off the week.
Yeah, you guys, this is the best deal we've ever had on our mattress toppers and our beds. The mattress toppers are, I've developed these myself or helped develop them. They actually give you quality sleep. The queen size alone has over 10,000 pressure points. Their comfort supports. You guys are as low as $99.98. We have our mattresses free shipping right to your front door. We have our bed frames. We have our mattress comforters. We have our mattress pad. It's all on sale at mypillow.com/war room. You guys have made in the USA, the beds, the mattress right to your front door, and their sleep is about temperature and pressure points. We've got it all covered with MyPillow's technology. And the free shipping, you guys check it out. The blankets, you guys, once they're gone as low as $25. The crosses are in, the women's crosses are back in stock, made in the USA. Get those. Free shipping on your entire order, promo code War Room, and my operators love hearing from you. My call center, 800-873-1062, 800-873-1062, promo code War Room. Remember, free shipping, 10-year warranty on everything. We made it to last, and we made it to work.
Mike, thank you. We'll see you this afternoon, sir. The Charlie Kirk Show is next. Post those after that. We're back at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be live in the War Room. We'll see you then.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci